When I broke open my fortune cookie, the fortune read, "If a harsh winter comes, spring can't be far behind." There was no coming back from this fortune or its moment of impact. The first thing that went wrong was when I looked out of the window of my favorite Chinese restaurant and saw that it was snowing again. In April. It had been like this for a couple of years now. Back in the 2020s, scientists had told the world repeatedly that climate change was going to be a huge issue in the future, but most of the politicians, large corporations, and for that matter, normal people had not listened or cared, mostly because most of us humans only care about the small, immediate threats instead of the important long-term ones. So now, in 2072, the weather and seasons are completely random and the global temperature has risen almost 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I paid the bill and left the restaurant. I walked across the street with no cars in sight. Fossil fuel ran out last June, and the few electric car companies have raised their prices to astronomical amounts. Consequently, only the super rich, about 2% of the total population, owned a working car. The rest of us had to either use the cramped public transportation or walk where we were going. I was walking towards the train when I began to get warm in my thick winter coat. I took it off and continued towards the train. After getting my retina scanned, which automatically subtracted the fee from my bank account, I got on the train. The train, as always, was extremely cramped and it smelled like a sweaty gym sock. The homeless population had risen exponentially in the last 10 years, almost 2 of the 10 billion people in the world, which caused a lot of people to only be able to shower once a week in the public showers. I was lucky enough to have a decent-sized house with my own bathroom and shower. Everyone's phones in the train let out a collective ding with the sound we immediately recognized as the natural disaster warning. But most of us, including me, didn't even check them because we got so many, usually a couple a day. The things about these warnings was that most of them were not even near my home city of Chicago. They were usually about the coastal states like Florida or half of California, which were at this point completely covered in water due to the rising ocean levels. But this time, the few people who had checked their phones were gaping in disbelief. Seeing this, me and about half the train immediately clicked the notification on our phones, and what we saw was horrifying. The article was titled, "The World's Last Glacier." The article wrote about how the last glacier, the Lambert Glacier, had finally melted and that the sea levels and temperature was rising extremely quickly, about 2 degrees hotter by the minute. By this point, everyone started to panic and yelling for the train to stop. But one of the passengers, able to stay calm, ran towards the water dispenser and started filling a water bottle. Everyone else, realizing this, started stampeding towards him. People were getting shoved and trampled. When someone pulled out a pistol and shot it at the ceiling, everyone lost their little remaining humanity. Everywhere was chaos with screams and gunshots, as everyone fought for the one resource that might help them survive the heat wave: water. When the train's doors finally broke open, everyone flooded outside, leaving all the dead bodies on the quickly warming train. But outside was not much better. When we had gotten on the train, it had been snowing, but now it was like an oven outside, and my face was covered in sweat. There were fires everywhere, on houses, trees, and even a car that looked like it had been exploded. People were raiding stores and running from anyone who had a weapon. In this new world, the only rule was survival, and people were willing to achieve this in any way possible. At that moment, I remembered the water bottle poking out of my backpack. I quickly put it all the way in the bag, but a man noticed. He charged at me with a crowbar in hand. I tried to run, but my feet felt like lead. The man hit me over the head and I fell to the ground. The last thing I remember seeing was an electric billboard that showed the temperature, which was 162 degrees Fahrenheit. And then all I saw was dark. When I frantically opened my eyes, I saw that I was in my room. I turned on my phone and it was 3:45 a.m. The date was August 7th, 2018, and I realized that this was all a dream. When I sat back down on my bed, I fell asleep immediately.